Should you play Witcher 1 in 2025? The answer to this question is not quite that simple. It depends. I'll start off why I played Witcher 1 for the first time. A game I actually wanted to play since 2007. Back then, an article in a PC Games magazine came out about this new fantasy game. It would be very dark, very brutal, and with a gripping story, where decisions you made actually changed the game. Also, there would be a lot of sex. And some screenshots showed very revealing outfits for some female characters. So, since I was 13, I'm ashamed to admit it, but yes, this was a motivation for me back then. But my unsatisfied sexual desires weren't the only thing that got me hooked. The thought of a dark fantasy game, different combat modes, a deep potion crafting system, and this whole, I don't know how to put it, Witcher atmosphere without black and white fantasy cliches really got me excited. I was so used to noble knights and dirty orcs and morally grey protagonist that sometimes just kills monsters not because he's good, but because he's paid for it. I loved the sound of that. So I saved up for months, got to the gaming store of my trust, picked the collector's edition box and went to the cashier. I was so excited. My parents were gone for the weekend and I was looking forward to giving myself over to Geralt and his adventures for the whole weekend. And then the cashier asked me the one question that never even came to my mind. How old are you? 16? I lied. Well, come back in 2 years, she said, and put the box away from the counter, leaving me devastated. Fast forward a few years, and my first actual experience with a Witcher game was actually The Witcher 2. I liked it back then, spoiler alert, after replaying it this year I don't share that sentiment anymore. But it didn't change my life, like I honestly thought the first one would. But I enjoyed it enough that it got me hooked for the Witcher universe in general. A few years later I found myself with a copy of Witcher 1 during a Steam summer sale and booted up the game. And I quit around 20 minutes in. Single player games just couldn't hook me as much as League of Legends, Counter-Strike or World of Warcraft. But this year I made a transition. I stopped playing games just to stroke my fragile ego, but to go on adventures like I did when I was a teenager. And this brings me to my journey with the first installment of the Witcher series. So, let's get into it. It all starts in a forest. Ha! The good old gaming cliché. Memory loss. Where have I seen that one before? As far as I know, this is because the Witcher games start after the books, and in order to make everything understandable for Witcher newbies, they came up with this solution. So Geralt runs through the forest and collapses, and is picked up by his Witcher colleagues. They drag his sorry white-haired ass over to Kaer Morhen, the Witcher stronghold, where the tutorial takes place. Let's get one thing straight. I fucking hated that shit. I know it's an old game, but come on. I was so annoyed sometimes that it actually took me 3 attempts to finally get through the approximately 45 minutes the whole tutorial lasted. It's so outdated. Every 2 steps you have a tutorial pop up, which are useful in general, but they completely kill the immersion and most of all the flow of the game. Also, some cutscenes are just weird. I mean, we just got attacked by bandits, have no clue what's going on and who they were. And what's the first question that pops up?
Wie geht es euch? Gut.
I mean, to be fair, the next question is regarding the attackers, but this is so stiff and awkward, it sounds more like an old classmate that met me after a few years and is now asking how the kids are growing. To sum it up, we are attacked by bandits, meet our antagonists, the creepy mage and the weird professor. They steal the Witcher Mutigain, that transforms humans into witchers and kill one of our colleagues. We are then sent off to hunt the attackers. That's the tutorial. But before that, we get to know one of the main features of the game. Sex! And collecting cards. It's a Witcher game. What did you expect? As I said, I didn't really like the tutorial area. It felt like a game that hasn't aged very well and also wasn't very good from the start. It's a complex game, but it felt quite shallow during the tutorial. Graphical limitations like the clone army attacking you, weird camera angles for cutscenes, and the mentioned tutorial pop-ups made it quite hard to fall in love with Geralt's first adventure. I know many people that didn't continue and are currently waiting for the remaster. To all these people I can only say, I feel you. But it gets so much better, and I'm actually really glad I didn't quit. To make one thing clear, sadly Act 1 isn't that much of a step up from the tutorial. It's better, for sure, the tutorial is god awful, but still. It has the same weird cutscenes, the story does take some time to pick up, and also the world itself felt strange at first. Witcher 1 is not an open world RPG like its successor Witcher 3. Every act comes with one or more somewhat open but quite linear maps, and walking around the same tracks time and time again can feel a bit exhausting. Also, these maps aren't very open for exploration. You can of course explore everything, but you are rarely rewarded. At first glance this could be an issue, but it's just not the way the game is supposed to be. A good example for this kind of limitation would be the Grave Hill in the northeast. During a dialogue you get tasked with killing a ghoul that's hidden inside, but when I got there I couldn't find a way to open the goddamn cave. Coming from Gothic 1 to Witcher 1, I thought maybe I'd missed something, maybe I needed to be there at a certain time, or there would be another mystery that prevented me from getting inside. So I ran around, searched for a clue, but couldn't find anything. Fed up, I decided to continue with the story. And then it became clear to me. I wasn't supposed to get inside the cave already. A later quest sent me inside. This can be off-putting for many people who are used to open world RPGs, but after realizing its linearity, I personally really liked Witcher 1's way of presenting its world. Personally, I tend to get lost instead of losing myself in an open world if it's too big and the immersion doesn't grip me from the get-go. Like for example in Kingdom Come Deliverance. Oh god, Henry, I love you, you're next, I promise you. Having a quite linear adventure with loads of decisions that actually matter because the game is so linear felt really amazing for me. But before we get into the decisions and with it the really awesome stuff, I need to talk about something else that almost made me quit in the first act. The end boss of Act 1 is just... I don't know how to put it. Jesus fucking Christ. It's not that the boss itself is that bad, but up until this point you just kill everything and everyone quite easily. Or you just pop a potion and then kill everything and everyone. The issue with the end boss of Act 1 is that the fight starts immediately after a cutscene. And if you don't know that, like me, you can't pop a potion beforehand, which made the boss fight a bit tedious, to say the least. Also the fact that you had to watch the cutscene every goddamn time. And there was one other thing that felt a bit... how shall I put this? Weird. Right before the fight you meet a witch in a cave, with some children around. Outside the cave the villagers are already in position to Jeanne d'Arc the witch, and I shit you not, the whole scene went a little bit like...
Oh, Geralt, can you defend me from those evil villagers? They want to burn me.
Sure.
Yeah. But first, let's have sex.
Why not?
What the?
What the fuck? But finally, on my last attempt, after about an hour and contemplating whether I should load an old saved game, I finally killed the beast. And honestly, I don't know how, it just died, which was also weird. But what happened afterwards kinda emphasizes what I mean with weird presentation and odd moments. See for yourself.
Helping that whore was your last mistake. Die, bloody mutant!
I've enough strength for the two of you.
Odo, grab the pitchfork!
The townsfolk spawn out of nowhere, beat the witch, and then the dialogue starts. Looking back at the footage now, it's not that bad, but while I was playing I was so confused and irritated about the whole situation. And these kind of things do happen a lot during Act 1 at the tutorial area. And sadly they completely kill the immersion and also the great atmosphere. I'm not sure if that's a bug or some really crappy cutscene placement. Funnily enough, this stuff actually stopped happening after Act 1, or maybe I just got used to it, but I couldn't find anything similar mentioned in my notes moving forward. For me as a player and also huge Witcher fan, it's so irritating and also infuriating that during a time a game should grab you by the neck and drag you into its world. It basically makes it hard for you to love it, and that's so sad. Because after Act 1, the game just flips and becomes such a great experience. But I get it, if you're turned off by the start to continue, the promise of it gets good will rarely make you keep playing, which is just so sad for me in this case. So sadly, I have to say that Act 1 isn't a huge step up from the tutorial, but apart from its clunkiness and odd moments I mentioned, it is still a step up. And it's foreshadowing 3 major strengths of this game: decisions, story and atmosphere. Let's check out the story first, shall we? The game starts off as a revenge/recovery mission. There are 2 very evil looking mysterious antagonists, a dead witcher and a stolen mutagen. And that's it, you don't know more. Geralt doesn't know more. Both of you are heading on a journey. It has to be mentioned, this is not a classical silent hero do whatever you want sandbox RPG. It is still Geralt's story. However, you can shape and point Geralt in the direction you want him to be. Right off the gates, within the first act, it becomes clear that something is brewing in the kingdom of Temeria. There is a plague, monsters roam the lands, and people are getting addicted to a strange substance called Fistech. Basically the crack of the Witcher's world. Discrimination of many, if not all, non-human races is rampant. It led to the formation of the so-called Scoia'tael. At first, all of these issues are separate from each other and don't really concern Geralt too much. He's on his own little crusade. But the more he is investigated into the criminal organization Salamandra, whom the attackers of the tutorial belong to, the more he gets sucked into these conflicts, politics and conspiracies within this dark and gritty world. Maybe this is also why Act 1 feels so disconnected from the rest of the game. Your task is to get inside Vizima. On the way you grab some contracts to kill a few monsters, interact with both fanatics and the Scoia'tael, but you can't really do anything. But as soon as you reach Vizima, the story just grips you and becomes this criminal investigation within a fantasy world. The opening of Vizima is also quite overwhelming. So many people, so many story strings, so many suspects, it was a lot to take in. But the game does a remarkable job, not sure if by accident or on purpose, to make this believable. Geralt is new to this city. He is overwhelmed, and as an extension of that, we are as players. There is a lot to uncover here, and the deeper he goes, the more he realizes the full extent of the mess Temeria is in. The land is on the brink of a race war. This tense atmosphere between humans and the other races is really palpable, and even though it's not the main story, both arcs are masterfully intertwined with each other, and it really pushed the narrative forward. Geralt and also I didn't want to pick a side in this conflict, we just wanted to hunt the attackers of Kaer Morhen. But the brewing conflict sucks Geralt into its destructive vortex. Both sides have likable characters and you need their help with your own investigation. This, however, puts you into a tough spot, as the world is not staying still around your hunt. Its conflicts continue to evolve, and through several really tough moments you ultimately have to engage in the conflict and choose a side. But this comes as a price. Everywhere we go, death and destruction follows. And this puts a toll on Geralt, and honestly also on me as a player. Which sounds ridiculous, I know, but I rarely played a game where I second guessed so many of my decisions, and sometimes seeing the consequences, just having this dreadful feeling of, what have I done? And god damn it, but that's so amazing for a game to juggle with your emotions and to blur the line between character and play in such a way. Especially without relying on cutting edge graphics to achieve this. It's not an emotional roller coaster like The Last of Us, for example, but for an almost 20-year-old RPG, I was impressed. Chapeau, Witcher 1. I honestly salute you for your story and the twists it turns up until the grandiose, really epic finale. You can't talk about the story without talking about decisions. For me personally, the biggest thing I took away from my playthrough is that the choices you make matter in a way I haven't seen replicated to this day, especially the way they work. Most, if not all of them, are not black and white, they are grey, solely based on the way you feel about the situation. There is rarely an explicit evil or good choice. I'd say sometimes not even a right one. Like for example, the time a knight asks you to rescue his sister from a bunch of vampires in a brothel. Just to find out that she actually wants to be there and live out her sexual freedom instead of being married to some old lord. You can't be for certain though, as the bite of a vampire actually twists the thoughts of the victim. So it's your choice, to defend her freedom or to help her brother take her out there by force, killing the vampires and maybe even her, as she clearly states she would rather die than to come with her brother. And let me tell you, I'm not ashamed of admitting it, some choices made me cry. They really changed the outcome of the game to a point it felt like no player of Witcher 1 has the same playthrough as another. Which is exaggerated, I guess, but this was honestly my first thought when I finished the story, and that said, and the notion that I have to play this again and see the other options says a lot about the quality of this game. The last strength I want to mention is the atmosphere of the game. As mentioned previously, the Witcher universe is a dark and unforgiving place. Racism, rape, constant violence and a shitload of monsters are everywhere. What makes Witcher 1 unique is its depiction of these topics. Not all monsters are evil, brainless creatures, on the contrary. Like for example the moment you encounter a friendly, talking ghoul that only feeds on cadavers. At least he says he does. Or a superhero werewolf that kills gangsters during the night. The world itself is small, but packed with so many memorable landmarks, sounds and characters which all add up to the atmosphere. The day and night cycle can be annoying, as sometimes you have to search for an NPC to let you meditate, which results in a shitload of running around, but you feel the change. Even during the day, the world is dangerous, but during the night, shit really can hit the fan fast. And even with its outdated graphics, the game captures these moments of despair, especially in moments where you see the results of your own actions, brilliantly. But there is one criticism I have to mention here, as it sometimes made me roll my eyes during my playthrough. Witcher 1 has a weird way to present many female characters. The first thing I thought when I saw Triss the first time was, oh Jesus. Well, that's not the best outfit for this world full of brutality and rape. And sadly, sex itself is also presented in a very immature way. Everything regarding female characters has this dirty nerd vibe. Some scenes and dialogues feel like unfulfilled fantasies of premature boys. There is not much sexiness and eroticism, it's just presented very bluntly. I don't think a game like this could come out in the year 2025 and without generating a massive shitstorm. Personally, I think that's good. And to all self-proclaimed alpha males starting to type aggressively in the comment section right now, no, this is not some Vogue-infused masculinity bashing. I just feel we gamers came a long way as a community. I'm certainly too old to either giggle every time I see a boob or get horny over some drawn nude card of a woman you get after Garrett slept with her. Sex in video games for adults can and should be handled in a mature way, but to their credit, they learned from this moving forward to Witcher 2 and 3. The gameplay loop usually works as follows. The game is separated in 5 acts plus an epilogue. Each act enters a new zone or a previously sealed off section of a preceding area. Each act also has a primary goal or a main quest. Like Act 1, your goal is to enter Vizima. From this end goal, different possibilities to reach aforementioned arise. Some side quests pop up, sometimes, but not always, they even directly influence the outcome of the main quest, like helping the witch. Next to them are Witcher contracts. You pick them up either through dialogues or by checking out a town's notice board. Contracts often involve bigger and sometimes tougher creatures. Combat itself is very easy. First, you have to choose between a weapon. Silver for monster and steel for regular enemies like wolves and humans. Then you have 3 different stances, one for fast enemies, one for strong enemies and one for groups. You click on an enemy and an attack sequence starts rolling. Clicking in the right moment again extends this sequence. Just saying, this sounds way more complex than it actually is. There is not much skill involved. No rolls, no dodges in a certain moment. Sometimes you can kite enemies a bit if your health bar is falling low and then finish them with a combination of your Witcher signs, like in this case for example. Fights are usually won based on your stats. You can bump those numbers up in 3 different ways. First, through new equipment. Witcher 1 doesn't have much variety in this regard. In every act you can craft a new set of Witcher gear through a quest and the gathering of high-valued materials. Some quests also reward weapons, but that's basically it. For all the loot whores out there, maybe this isn't the game for you. The second way to influence your stats, classically through leveling up and putting your points in the, at first glance, quite extensive and complex talent tree. But you will gain enough points through your playthrough to max most of the options provided, so don't worry too much. So if you're getting fisted by a plant in the swamp, maybe try avoiding it for now and check back later when you gain some levels on it. The third and most complex way to gain an advantage during combat are potions and weaponize. Both are an integral part of a Witcher's arsenal. They allow for direct stat boosts, a damage amplifier for certain enemy types, or for example, they can slow down time for their duration, so you have an easier time dealing with enemies. There is a huge variety of these. Knowing what potion is effective against a certain enemy is integral, and so we arrive at the last major gameplay feature, reading. There are a shitload of books, manuscripts and information about monsters. Some contracts actually require you to read the corresponding book about the monster. This makes the game extremely complex in some situations, like the time you need to find out how to awake a golem in the forest, with the information being in a book sold by a dwarf in Vizima. And since it was part of a main quest, I had to find a way. There are moments like this you realize it is still a mid-2000s RPG. It's a complex game, but since it was the first game of CD Projekt, you can cheese some things, like the fight against the princess turned Striga. I just ran around for the timer to expire. There are also really odd moments. You one-shot enemies, or they keep on dodging forever until you move an inch to either side. Also some other small things, like the fact that NPCs often drop a conversation after answering one question and you have to engage with them again. Or a lot of running around. Or the fact you can buy a house and basically do nothing with it. Not sure if I missed something there, to be honest, but if I did, please correct me in the comment section. All in all, despite these minor things and the problems I mentioned during the tutorial and Act 1, the gameplay is quite good and for me still holds up even almost 20 years after the game's release. Alright, before we get to my conclusion, I want to share something with you. If you wanna try out The Witcher 1, don't compare it to any other game. Especially not games with a more open approach to game design, like The Elder Scrolls or Gothic or something like that. I played Gothic 1 before Witcher 1, and I was sometimes very angry at Witcher 1. In my head, I always compared the two. I thought to myself, Gothic did this better, Gothic had a better immersion, Gothic had a better progression. In Gothic I would be able to get inside the Gravehill. But believe me, Witcher 1 is a very unique adventure, and I personally feel like an adventure I haven't seen replicated in its form since then. So I strongly advise to you, if you wanna play Witcher 1, play it with open minds and don't compare it to anything else, especially not other RPGs. And now, one question remains. Should you play Witcher 1 in 2025? And the answer is yes, I think you should. If you can adapt to the game and accept it for what it is. It's an old game, it's a clunky game, with weird mechanics and sometimes borderline stupid cutscenes. But it's a great story-focused RPG. If you like linear games with a good story and memorable moments, decisions and characters, maybe you should give it a try. Let me warn you though, it takes some time to get used to the game. The start, the first act and everything around it is not representative of the whole journey, so don't let it deter you. Give it a shot at least for Act 2. Even though I have to say upfront, if you're a fan of sandbox RPGs like Skyrim or Oblivion, maybe this isn't the game for you. It's a very linear experience and a very, as mentioned, unique experience. So if you're coming in with the expectation of having an open world like Witcher 3, you will be disappointed. Thank you for watching this video. It was the first big project I had, and actually it took several attempts over the last year to finally finish it. It's not the best quality video out there, I know that, but finishing this despite all the flaws it has feels really amazing. Although also it feels like I'm a bit late to the party, like 15 years late for this amateur style video on YouTube. But anyway, most likely only my friends will watch this video, but if somebody else actually does, thank you. I don't want to bother you with please like and subscribe and some bullshit like that. I have a job, I don't see my future in making videos on YouTube. It's a hobby and it will stay one. What I want to do with these videos is hyping and nerding about games, something I always enjoyed, especially when I was a teenager, and it stuck with me. And I had this dream of making videos on YouTube to discuss games and talk about games with other people. And yeah, so please, if you have any experiences with the games I post, especially now with Witcher 1, feel free to comment your impressions, whether you agree or disagree, and let's have a dialogue. Thank you and have a good day.